By the time I had finished my master's degree, my HECS was about 100,000. And last year, actually, indexation that was applied was higher than the amount that I paid off personally.
For Alana Fraser, logging onto MyGov to check her student debt is a terrifying experience.
Personally, I think it's a competing factor in my life. Do I pay off my HECS? Do I save my money to save for a house? Or do I save my money and invest? You get a little bit jealous sometimes of the older Australians that got university for free.
She's one of 3 million Aussies whose student loans shot up by more than 7% last year, all because help debts, formerly known as HECS, are tied to our skyrocketing inflation rates.
It's a large chunk of debt, but at least it does come out of my payslip each fortnight. I suppose things on the back burner is I lose about $80 a fortnight.
Now, a new report is recommending a shake-up, which would see some students like Alana save around $1,000 a year.
We've got to make HECS simpler and fairer. They've also given us a recommendation about how you index help and recommending that it be set according to the wage price index rather than CPI.
Also in the report cites banning banks from analysing help debt in mortgage applications, better financial support for low-income students, and paying for compulsory placements, with many medical and teaching students forced to give up paid work to finish their degrees.
You cannot study while you are starving and while you are working more than full-time at really low-paid jobs. So increasing income support above the poverty line is absolutely critical.
The report says Australia should be aiming to get more of us into TAFE or uni. The goal? To have 80% of working-age Aussies tertiary educated by 2050.
University education should be free and we should be scrapping all student debt. We need to do that if we're going to reach the aspiration which the government is saying they have.
So what will it take to lure more Aussies into higher education and give struggling students a break?
National Union of Students President Ngaire Bogemann is here to tell us what it will all mean for students. Ngaire, back when I was a student, I was working a couple of jobs. I was living on 2-minute noodles and dollar drinks on Thursday nights. What does the life of a struggling student look like in 2024?
Oh, look, I'd love to say that things have changed, but that is absolutely not the case. Students these days are doing it tougher than ever. Students are living in poverty just to get a degree. They're being forced every day to make a choice between the food they put on the table, the roof they put over their head, and the education that'll get them into the career that they want in the future. We need to see from Minister Jason Clare that this accord is more than just words, and we urge the government to listen to the voices of students and to begin on the road to turning these recommendations into concrete actions for students.
The idea of compulsory placements is really interesting, I think. So, if you're doing a teaching degree, you've got to take a lot of time out to go to schools, do rotations there. I think in medicine it happens, probably nursing as well, things like that. How much expense or stress do those particular things have on students?
Placements are a major barrier for a lot of students. For example, if you're a social work student, you have to undertake up to 1,000 hours of unpaid placement. It's the same for occupational therapy students. So for students, what this means is having to forego paid work, resorting to odd jobs for neighbours, friends and families, because they are completing unpaid work at full-time rates. They're having to fill in the gaps so that they can have a roof over their head and a meal to come home to at the end of the day. And this is putting them in financial stress. It's having undue impact on their mental health. And we're happy with the Accords to see that placements having payment are on the table, but not quite in the way we'd like.
Right, I understand you probably want the payment to be higher. On the flip side, though, I'm sure you can well imagine there'd be people watching this saying, well, it's your education, it's your investment in your future, you've chosen to go down that path, the taxpayer's funding it, it's part of your degree, why should we be paying you for learning?
Yeah, I mean, by the same token, you could ask why the government is funneling students into areas like teaching and nursing, which are skills needs areas, and forcing them to undertake unpaid placements, which are a mandatory part of their degree. I think, we want more nurses, we want more teachers. We have to consider the fact that maybe asking them to do months and months on end of unpaid work is part of what's causing the problem.
Okay, Ngaire, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thanks so much for having me.
I mean, I left school at 16. I mean, the only examination I've ever passed is my cervical smear test. The one you do want.
That's a good one, yeah.
But I wish I'd taken advantage of free education under Whitlam and Hawke governments. I mean, I think education should be free. I mean, obviously, I need all the help I can get.
You were too busy writing an iconic book with puberty blues.
But you know what's interesting? I mean, obviously, you've been hugely successful without having that university education. I wonder if that was more possible, though, then. Because education was something that not as many people did.
Yeah.
And so making it free was probably on the table. No government, despite what the Greens want, no government is going to do that now, because if you want 80% of people going, that's a huge expense. I just wonder if that should be the goal. Like, should we want that many people going to...
You don't want 80% of people with arts degrees in this country.
Well, that's a separate...
Every conversation at a party would suck.
That's so true. But at my age, now I get honorary doctorates all the time. So I get the doctorates without doing any work. But the one I want is a companion of literature, which they abbreviate to C.Lit. Oh. That would rub me up the right way, I'm sorry.
If you're watching at home, that's how you should choose all your degrees.
Yes, exactly.